This is Spotlight with Ivy, and I'm your host, Ivy. On today's episode, like I mentioned, we have Ore Adekoya. Ore, like you heard in our profile, is the supply chain manager. What's the title?
Customer supply chain manager.
Customer supply chain manager in charge of West Africa and what's the other?
Central and
Central Africa. And the other Central and West Africa. Yeah. Thank you for helping me with that. It's not easy to have such a big title with us. So welcome with us, everyone. Ore Adekoya. Ore, it's nice to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having
Great to have. It's been a long time that we've actually been seeing. And one thing I know is in the past few weeks, months, years, you've been traveling a lot.
Yeah. I actually like to travel, so yeah.
Yeah. So I have a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
Well, nothing too serious. It's some things to pick your brain, just icebreakers to pick your brain.
Okay.
So share a bucket list of travel destinations, like finds.
Okay. Like, let me see. I would really like to go to Santorini.
Oh,
Yeah.
why?
Because of the whites. And if you're a travel person, you know that that's a traveler's dream. To go there, take nice shots and all that.
Just
Then
all
walk
white.
through the white, scenery and all that. So yeah, I would really, really like to go to Santorini. I wanted to go actually just before the pandemic. So a friend of mine were planning and all that, and then we heard, we almost were this close to buying our tickets.
You guys spent
And
6
then,
months.
yeah, so thank God we didn't go. So we eventually didn't go there. Another place we wanted to go was Washington. Washington, D.C., the White House and all that. Yeah.
Like take a tour.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that's something that I would really, really like to visit. Somewhere I would really like to visit. Third one for me will be Prague. Yeah. I've seen so much, heard so much about it. So yes, that's definitely on my next list to go to. Then I want to go to Belgium. I have actually passed through Belgium before. 2017, I was going from France to Netherlands, so I took a night bus. So although my friend that was with me, we argue about this thing and she says I've never been to Belgium because we traveled together, but she was sleeping. So the night bus stopped at a store and I got down to buy something. And I told her, I stepped into Belgium, like I actually entered the city. And she says, come on, you didn't enter and all that. But, when I write the list of cities I've been to, I still write Belgium, but I would like to visit the city sometime. Cape Town definitely is on my list. I haven't been there before. I was supposed to go there last year. So I had even booked, I had paid for my trip and all that, but then South Africa came with this restriction that, Nigeria. So when you come back from South Africa, because South Africa was on the red list, so you had to quarantine for 2 weeks and all that, which didn't make sense. So I had to cancel the Cape Town trip, and then I went to Morocco instead, which was really, really nice, by the way, so. And then finally will be Banjul. Yeah. Nice beaches and all that in the Gambia. So yes, those are the 5 places that I really, really like to visit.
Wow. Your destinations are very, very refined. I love them. I love them. So, like, what's the best place you've been to so far?
Venice, undoubtedly Venice.
Why, dude?
Oh, the water. Like, the fact that the whole city is on water, that was amazing. So, like, just walking through and then, there was this movie, I can't remember the name. I think it was...
Mamma Mia.
No, not Mamma Mia. There was another one that was in Venice. Like, it was an action movie and all that. And I was really, really tripped by that movie. And so when I went there to actually see, like, in real life, the movie, where they shot the movie and all that. So, we walked around. It was like a dream. It was a really, really dreamy city. And very beautiful, very, very beautiful. So, because I like water. So you had nice buildings. And, if you know Europe, Europe is filled with, lovely buildings, ancient, that they like to keep antique. Yes, antique buildings. So imagine those buildings with water. Then we took a boat ride and all. It was really beautiful. Really, really beautiful.
Wow, I feel like I should be your luggage. You want to get these trips? Yeah, so welcome to the show.
Thank you.
One thing I think that stands out for me regarding you is your consistency. Like, I'm like, you give consistency a run for its money. Like, I must say that, from, it's been how many years you've been at Nestle now?
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
You don't find people these days staying
Yeah.
10 years. So my question to you is, did you know from the beginning that this was the path you wanted to tread? Or you just discovered it along the way?
So, you know, when I thought about the title for today and purpose, I actually got thinking like, some people might think I need to know my purpose from the start. This is where I want to go. This is what I want to achieve. But sometimes you discover it along the way. Like, you know, you need to give yourself time to say and don't be so hard on yourself and allow yourself to discover what you truly like, what you truly enjoy. You know, so when I applied to Netflix, I was working in an investment bank before. Immediately after my NYC, I worked in an investment bank for a year and 2 months, and it was horrible. I enjoyed what I did.
Can you define what horrible is so that that helps somebody at least?
Okay, so what made it horrible was really the time and the demands. And I just thought that, no, I can't build this cannot be my career. This cannot be the next 10 years. Funny enough, I enjoyed the work itself was nice because I was a research analyst. So I love working with numbers. Numbers are my thing. So we used to look at the stock market, look at trends and all that, and then try to write about it. So you had a bit of writing, you had a bit of analytical. So it was really good, the work. But then the working conditions. The day I made a decision that I can't do this was...
Tell us about it.
Yeah, that day, I picked up my bag at 7 p.m. And then my boss said, where are you going? It's too early. This was 7 p.m. He said, it's too early. You can't go. And I said, what do you mean by that? 7 p.m.? And I told him I lost it that day. I said, you have a car. You get into your car. You drive to your house. You don't care how I get home. I'm still going to line up at TBS waiting for BRT. Then after BRT, I'm going to take another bus to go home. You don't know how I'm getting home. And then you see 7 p.m. is too late. I said, come on. You know, so that day I just said, no, I can't do this. I can't do this. Then whenever we had public holidays, like if we had like 2-day public holiday, he would tell us openly that, oh, you can't have the 2. You have to give the office 1. It was standard. So you have to come to the office on one of those public holidays. And then I'm like, no, this is crazy. This is great. I was like, no, I can't do this. And then my boss as well, he was an evening person. No offense to him. His brain works past that night. So during the day, you see him going around the office gisting and all that. Then at night, all right, there's nothing. Me and my colleague, we used to joke. And then we still joke till today. And he'd be like, all right, open the models. because that's what my boss used to say. 7 p.m., just say, all right, open the models. Let's review it. And I'm like, I've been here waiting for you all day trying to get your attention because I've done something and I want him to review it. And then he just comes excitedly at 7 and says, open the models. Open the models at what time? Like, what do you mean? And then because I was getting married that year, and I said, this I'm going to be my husband's new wife that my husband cannot see. I said, no. I can't do this. So I now started I had 2 jobs. That's what I used to say. I'll come very early in the morning, like 7, and then I'll start searching job websites. And then I start applying. That's what I used to do. You know, so for like 1 hour between 7 and 8, I resumed officially at 8 anyway. So between 7 and 8, I scored all the job websites looking. So I stumbled on Nestle. And to be honest, the only thing that attracted me was Nestle. It was a supply chain training. I had no idea what supply chain was about. I had never heard of it. I had never done it. But Nestle, I said, Nestle, they would treat me well.
So let me stop you right there. So are you saying that it was really the work conditions that drove you into
Yes, it was.
It wasn't like, oh, I'm trying to find what my boss is, what my life is.
Not at all.
Okay.
It was the work conditions.
So if the work conditions were fair enough,
Maybe I would have stayed, yeah.
Probably stayed.
Maybe. But with the work condition, the fact that I was getting married, I said, nah, this can't work for me.
Yeah, so it's like important to be able to gauge where you're at and what you can take.
Exactly.
In those
Exactly. You know, and I was honest with myself that, nope, I can't do this.
But I think it's funny because a lot of people still find themselves in these situations whereby they're like, okay, well, I have to still make bulk at the end of the day. So they don't want to leave. Is that fear, the fear of the unknown? Like, what made you think that, oh, let me be daring enough to even try? Because, you know, a bed in hand, like they say, is worth more than dead in the bush.
Yeah.
So what gave you that perception that, okay, let me try to get something else?
You know, I think that turning point for me is there's somebody that I called. One of those days when it was frustrating, and then I called him, and then I wept in the office. I literally wept. and then he was like, oh, relax, 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 which is why it's important to have a mentor, and somebody that you can talk to, because sometimes, you see people all made up, they look like, oh, they have it all together and all that, but you don't know that there was somebody that held them through that journey and helped them up in times where they were not so strong. So that time I was confused. I was literally confused. And then I called him, I cried and all that. And he was like, relax, relax, relax. Yeah, I was like, okay, so you can't continue in this job, obviously. And then he's the one that gave me that, let's start looking for something else. You get? So, of course, while I wouldn't advise to lose your bread in hand and just jump out, I wouldn't advise that. But how about trying to do both at the same time? Like, while you're still there, while you're still, making some money and all, then try to look for what you really want or what you would really enjoy. Yeah. So at the same time, it doesn't make sense to jump out, but don't just sit there and say, oh, this is what I have and this is what I have to work with. No, look for something. Look for something else. Some people have started their businesses that way where, it's the side hustle. Yeah. You start doing what you love to do while still at a job. And then when it grows to a certain scale, then you can launch out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important. So let's come back to the very first question about you going into Nestle. So you went online, search, and you just thought, Nestle. Whatever they want me to do, scrub the floor.
I just thought working condition. Okay, the working condition will be great. Yeah, let me apply.
So it was just really about what your pinpoint was in that moment. You're trying to address. And that was like your pathway in finding.
Amazingly.
Interesting. God works in amazing ways. So you applied for the job?
Yeah, so I applied, and then, of course, now, you can say, oh, I was attracted to the job because, I knew that they will have better working conditions. But, of course, I prepared for the interview. When I heard supply chain, I said, I need to study what supply chain is about. So I went online, I read about it, and then I had a good understanding, like, okay, this is what supply chain is about. So,
but did you have an interest?
At that point, because I'm just venturing out into my career, I was really open, like, I can do anything. So because I was young, I said, let me try my hands on something. Yeah. And then I'll see if it's fine, works for me, oh, well and good. And if it doesn't work, I move on to something else. That's the advantage of your youth. When you are young, you can try out different things and if you don't like it, you move on. So then I was ready to try out something new. It wasn't particularly like an interest and all. The honest truth is, my sister is an investment banker. So, naturally, this thing about family, oh, your dad is a doctor, so your brother is because that's what you are familiar with. Yeah. So my sister was kind of my inspiration for investment banking. And so that's why I applied to an investment bank. I got the job and all that. But then it wasn't working. I said, okay, let me leave the known to the unknown. Yeah, and I was ready to be adventurous. Yeah.
Wow. I love when you say I'm ready to be adventurous, because I think that's one of the things that's really lacking, because many times people just think that, comfort is the best place to be, but stepping out of that place in finding new waters, even if you think learn to swim, learn to swim along the way. And I think that's very interesting. So your preparation did well for you.
Oh yeah, it did. And the good thing was the fact that one of the questions they asked me was something I was working on, because I was researching. I used to write articles on Boko Haram and the effects and all that. And so at the interview, they asked me, they gave me a piece of paper and they said, stuck on this for 2 minutes. And then it was a folded piece. I was supposed to pick from, a couple of papers. And then I picked it and I opened it and I saw Boko Haram and I laughed. And then the guy said, did the paper say you should be laughing? And in my mind, I'm like, oh, no, you wouldn't understand. And then I started talking because it was my forte. Like, this is what I was researching on. So I talked about it. I was like, it's enough, keep quiet, because it was obvious that I knew a lot about it. When he asked me about supply, he said, what do you think supply chain is about? Even though I didn't have any practical experience about it, but I was able to talk about it because of what I had read and all that. And they were impressed, and it was a graduate training program. So it's training. So I will get trained and all that. So I knew that if it's something that I can learn, definitely I will learn. So
let's come back to the, the intro, design or refined. What do you think, sitting in this chair, picking that paper, Boko Haram, and seeing that, oh, this is something I am prepared to do. Do you think that purpose is about being designed or about you refining yourself to suit it?
Funny enough, I think it's a mix. I think it's a mix of both, actually. Because, of course, I will never, ever take away the place of God in purpose. Never. Because no matter how prepared, no matter how focused I was, how would I have known that it was Boko Haram they were going to ask me about? My part of preparation was, okay, let's know what supply chain is about. Let's, learn about it and stuff. But at that point, the fact that what they asked me was what I was doing, there's no way I could have known. No way. There's no way I could have maybe said in my office, oh, let me work on Boko Haram so that I'll be aware because I don't have an... There's no way. There's no way. So like, for me, I would always, put in the place of God and the place of God's will in your purpose. Yeah, because there's a way you can align yourself with God's will for your life. Yeah. And so the person I called, incidentally, that day that I said I wept, he was my pastor, and I knew that at the point I came to in my life, I needed some spiritual direction. I needed to call somebody that was spiritually awake, and so that's why I called him. And then I believe that the instructions, sometimes God speaks directly. Sometimes God speaks through a pastor. Sometimes God speaks to a mentor. Sometimes God speaks to your friend. God is always speaking. Like, sometimes you can actually be watching a movie and God is telling you something, So God speaks through different things. And then I believe that through the leading of God, because I aligned myself with God's will, God actually led me. Now, the mistake people make is that they say God, and they don't do any preparation. And they expect God to come down from heaven and do everything for them. No, God will not do that. So God works with us hand in hand. If you follow his leading and then, do your part, do what you're meant to do, you would eventually find that purpose. So for me, it's a mix of being that design and being refined. It's a mix of the two.
So what I hear you say is that purpose is movement.
Thank you. Exactly.
Like, you have to keep moving. And as you move, God, one of my best passages is commit your ways unto God and he will make your path straight.
Yeah.
And the translation for that, and he will make your path straight. The day I saw it, I was like, wow. Because there's sometimes, sometimes when good things happen to you, you wonder if something bad is about to happen. So you're sort of like weary and about it. And that thing made me realize that the fact that this worked out was God telling you it's okay and you should keep moving in that direction.
Yeah.
So what was your when you got the job, right? Did you have to go pray about it, think about it, or you just, oh, this is what I want? I did not
let me be honest, I did not pray. Nothing. As in fact, I resigned before I had gotten an offer letter, which in hindsight now, that was
like after the interview, you just resigned.
Because I had done an interview and then I did medicals. Yeah. So after I did medical, I was like, it's sure for me now. So I resigned. Like 2 or 3 years later, a friend of mine came for an interview in Nestle, and then she did the interview, she did medicals. I was like, you've gotten in that. she didn't get the job. And then I got thinking, like, wow, that was a risk.
That was so risky.
That was a risk. But at that point, I was like, no. I'm doing this.
You were tired of that?
Oh, no, I was tired.
So how did you leave? How did you leave?
What do you mean, how did I leave?
Your old job, how did you leave?
Yeah, so I called my boss and I said, my boss was not even the problem. The problem was one of the partners, So I just called my boss. I said, oh, I'm leaving. I was like, oh, really? Yeah. So called the partners and I said, I can't do this anymore. I didn't tell them I got a job in nursery. I didn't tell them, but I just said, oh, no, that it's not working for me. This is not it. That I just need, some time to... I can't even remember exactly what I said, but I know I told them that these working conditions is not working for me. I told them about the fact that I was getting married and then I didn't want to start marriage on this kind of, footnote and all that. And then they were quite supportive. Till today, I still speak with that partner. Till today, we're still in touch with...
If they didn't let you go, though. Because you find situations like that, like... You're ready to go, but it just seems like, okay, there's an open door and there's a restriction at the back. So it's like the person is like in that confused state of, do I go? If they didn't let you go, would you have just...
The truth is, it's actually, I always say this, that nobody can, it's my life. Yeah. So if you don't let me go, you're not going to come to my house and drag me out to say, hey, you must come to the office and all that. So it's about, I think it starts with the mindset to say, am I a slave to this place? Do I have to say what they want me to do and all that? Or I make a decision and I make it clear that, oh, I'm moving on. As long as I've met the terms and conditions, you say I should give you 1 month notice or 2 months or whatever the case may be. But I'm going to prioritize my life. My life is not tied to, this organization.
But when you're thinking that way in that moment, though, because, there's a different thing looking at it in retrospect. But in the moment when you're standing there feeling emotional about this place is tiring and okay, do I move forward? Was it that clear to you?
Oh, it was really clear. Really, really. There was no doubt about it. No doubt. In fact, the fact that I had resigned before I got it, I had already seen myself there. I had gone. I had gone ahead and, but I just knew that whatever it took, I'm going to I talked to about 2 partners, yeah. And then I talked to HR and all that. And then I made it clear to everyone that, at this point in my life, it's not working, and then I moved on.
Okay, so now we're in Nestle. Starting first day. What was first day like for you?
So first day, I remember there were about 4 or 5 of us there about that we resumed as graduate trainees and all that. Of course, I was like, wow. Like I was looking around and it was a really nice office. Then now I'm so used to the office, like it doesn't mean anything. But then I remember looking around, seeing all the brands. I saw Milo, Golden Boy, and Nescafe. I was like, oh my God, like I'm actually working here. It was like a dream. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm working in Nestle, And then they took us around, they introduced us and all that. I met some of the big shots. And honestly, at that point, it's not like I had a goal. Like, there's some people that do that, which is very good. In retrospect, I should have, but I didn't have a goal that, in 10 years, I want to sit on this seat. I want to sit on that seat and all that. Let me even tell you what happened. So during my induction, I was actually supposed to be in import and export department. So during my induction, I went to the demand and supply planning the planning department, and then the head of the department was, telling us what the department was about and all that. And he just asked a question that, what do you think it takes to succeed in the planning department? And I was like, you need to have good analytical skills. You need to have good relationship skills. You need to be, I was just blabbing because I don't even know, but I was just talking. And the guy noted me and he said, I want this girl in my team. There was another girl that he had already pegged for his team and said, swap, that I want this girl in my team, and then that's how I started out in the planning team. And then I was there for I grew, and that's the team I grew in,
So sorry to cut you, but do you think that your investment job actually prepared you?
Oh, yes, it did. It did.
Wow.
Definitely.
Well, you didn't see when it was happening though.
You get
when you were growing and complaining and what does that man say? Bring out the
open the model.
When all that was happening, you didn't see.
I didn't.
Wow.
It was really a preparation because even during that 1 year, I gave it my all. I learned so much that really helped me for my job in Nestle. So it was really a preparation. It was really a preparation for this one.
Wow.
And yeah.
So like going into demand and supply.
Oh God, that was my forte. Like that was my forte. So,
but some things you didn't know before you got there.
No, I didn't even know that there was something called demand planning. Like, what is that? I didn't know. So I started out as a demand planner, and then learning. In fact, at like 1 year or 2 years into the job, I started out at entry level, and then the CFO called me and said, oh, Ore, there's this job I want you to take. It was a managerial position from entry level. And I was like, wow, are you kidding me? So the person that was doing the role was pregnant and she was going on maternity leave. Fortunately or unfortunately, I was also pregnant, but I wasn't showing, and then I told him that I'm pregnant as well. So in the next couple of months, and I could see his countenance. I was like, oh God, it's God. I know that. He was like, anyway, congratulations, I'm happy for you and everything. But he just thought I was a really good fit. That didn't mark my mind. Like, Like, I'm really good at this thing. I'm not just playing as a CFO.
Notice
I noticed me, a bloody entry level.
Wow.
I'm just doing, you get. And I was like, so that thing marked my mind. It took me a while to finally get to that level, the managerial level. But for me, it changed my outlook to say,
there is something
I'm good at this thing. Like, really, I'm good at this thing. And it's not like I had a lot of interaction with the CFO. Maybe once a month, I do a presentation, to the board and all that. But yeah, the fact that he noticed, it was a good thing. It was a good thing.
Wow. And I'm happy you mentioned about, your pregnancy. How has being a mom, you're married with 2 kids, two boys. How has being a mom, I won't say impeded, but how has it affected your career growth? Do you think it has affected your career growth? If you're not working in Nestle, for example, would you have had to, make certain leaps in some years to come rather than how fast it has happened now?
I would also say that I would not deny the support that Nestle gave me. And looking back, it was a great decision I made. Maybe because so many things. Maybe because Nestle as well, we're a food company, we have infant formula, we have baby food. So the support for mothers is amazing. Wow. It's amazing. Like, I was really shocked when I got pregnant, and then by the time it gets to 6 and all that, people will start passing by. What are you doing here? Start going home. And then it flashed when I work at 7 and I was going home. I was always saying, you cannot go home. But here I am in another office and somebody is saying, 6 p.m., what are you doing till 6? You're pregnant, you should be going home, you should be at home, you should go home and relax and all that, So I will not take away the place of support that Nestle gave me as a mother, But of course, as with everything, there are seasons. And I told myself that early, and my career was like that. There are seasons. There are times when you need to prioritize your career. And then there are times I tell my children, I'm in a meeting. Mommy needs to focus. Yeah? And they know. During the pandemic, that was the time we fought the most. because my children were younger then, and they couldn't understand what did pandemic. They just know that mommy is at home. In fact, let me tell you, there was one day that this was not even my boss. My boss's boss. Yes, I was doing a presentation to my boss's boss, and then we were still at the beginning of the meetings, waiting for other people to join, and he goes, "All right, it's awfully quiet around there. Where are your kids? I hope you've not locked them up." And I was like, "You noticed?" He said, "Of course I noticed. I always hear them during meetings." So it was a normal thing for one child to be crying, "Mommy," or to appear, and then they just see somebody running across from the camera and all that. So they were used to it that, Ore's children would always be here. And so my children didn't know that boundary. Mommy is at home. Mommy. I want to, mommy, I want this, mommy, I want this, mommy. And then I didn't even have a help at that time. So it's not like I could tell them to stay with the help. And of course, I didn't want them to just watch TV and all that. So I had to know how to manage that. It was a really trying time. I think that was the most trying time for me as a parent and a career person, managing the two. You get. But like I was saying, there are seasons. There are some times when I say, okay, I need to actually focus on my kids. I need to, there's a time when I took some time off and I said, let me be closer to them. So as they get back from school, I ask them questions. How was school? Who did you talk to? What did you do? Let's take a walk. I deliberately wanted to get closer to them, to instill some of my values into them, because the way it is now, children are learning values from school, from TV, from friends and all that. So if you don't take that time to invest in them, you just wonder, who are these children? They're not my kids. Yeah. They don't have my values. So as a parent, there's a time and there's an age when you need to say, okay, I need to start investing into my children at this point in time and put my career a bit on the back burner. Yeah. And, that happens for a season. It doesn't mean that you should now say, for the next 2 years, I want to do this and all that. But the same thing, there's sometimes when okay, especially when you have a meeting, you have a big project and all that, you tell yourself, okay, I need to invest into this at this point in time. And even though I have less time for my children, it's just for a season, and I just prioritize my career at that point in time. So life is in season. Same thing with your marriage. There's some times when, my husband asks me for something and I'm like, oh God, babe, don't you know that I have to have a meeting? Don't you know? How busy I am and all that. And I said, I tell myself my husband needs me at this point in time. And so I drop everything. And then I attend to whatever my husband wants. And I know that, okay, at least I've satisfied, I've put some points in the bank, so at least tomorrow he will not ask me for that thing. At least I have a bit of leeway on that. So it's just that it's somebody liking it to juggling balls. There's sometimes when a ball will fall down and all that, but then, you can allow yourself to prioritize some at some point in time, but then ultimately go back to those balls and make sure that in all there's a rhythm. And then no one is suffering consistently, to the detriment of another. Yeah. So you prioritize some at different, and you need to recognize those seasons to say, because in a child's life, for instance, when your child is like 1, 2 and all that, you may not really have to give as much time to them as when they're 3. When they start forming opinions and listening.
But I'm interested in knowing, like, what are top 3 values that you teach your kids?
Number 1 for me is the fear of God. Absolutely the fear of God. So of course I make sure that we go to church. Obviously, I make sure that they have Bibles, they have Bible story, we pray together. We started discipline where we take a scripture together, just one verse, and then we learn it. And then I try to explain to them, this is what the scripture is saying, this is what the scripture means and all that. So for me, I need to instill the fear of God in my children. Second is honesty. Like I personally, I can't stand people that lie, that are deceitful and all that. So I tell my children, and I try to create that atmosphere to say that sometimes when they do something and in my head, I'm screaming, like, what do you mean? I can't do that. And then I just relax and I just said, it's okay that I want you to be able to tell me whenever this happens, and I don't feel that you need to lie, So I'm trying to create that culture of, and it's also a culture of courage to say that, oh, I was wrong. I did this, I'm sorry. Because it's fear that makes people lie. Because fear of the consequences, what's going to happen and all that. But I could try to create that open and honest culture to say, you can tell me anything. You can tell me anything. And third is respect for other people, respect for other children. So you don't take other people's things, you don't beat other children. You have to respect not only elders, children, everyone around you. You greet when you see older people and all that. So yeah, those are the top 3 values.
So I wanted to ask you, you talked about fear and courage. Have you been in a situation where you were afraid of the outcomes or something and felt like, I need to cover it up or lie? Like you make a mistake and you're scared of, okay, what are these outcomes and how it will affect my life? Have you been in that kind of situation and how did you handle it?
So, there was a time at work where something like that happened. I actually made a mistake, and then I had done a presentation and everybody had taken those numbers, like, oh, these are the numbers and all that. And then I realized, oh my God, the first thing I did, there's this scripture that says, the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and they are saved. I said, God, I'm in trouble. God help me, because, there was a tendency for me to cover up and say, oh, it's my colleague that did this. And I could do it and nobody will know. I could say that it's not me, or it's this person, it's that person, because it doesn't speak well of me to say, at this your level, you are making mistakes and all that. So I was just like, I felt so confused at that point in time. Like, how do I go and correct this? Because they were going to take those numbers and use them. They were an input into something. So I needed that to be corrected. Yeah. So I was thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. And then at that moment, I just felt, go and talk to your boss, and I went to go and meet him. And then I told him, he was like, oh, I said, oh. Even me, like, I felt so embarrassed, so ashamed and all that. But he was like, okay, this is how we will do it. And then, we composed, we actually called another meeting, where, I don't know, God just gave us the wisdom at that point in time. So we called another meeting where we talked about something else. Yeah, something else that they also needed to know. But then we infused the correct thing into this to say, okay, because of this something else, it had an impact on the numbers and all. Of course, it had an impact, but it wasn't that wasn't
That's
major impact. Yeah. But we just presented that thing and kind of blew it up to say, oh, we didn't lie about what the thing was, but we presented it and we said, this is it, and then we feel this. So because of that, the numbers have to change. The numbers have changed from this to this. And of course, my man was not happy. Oh, why is it changing and all that? But at least that other scenario gave us a softer landing, to it and all that. But my boss was very happy about the honesty that I came to meet him to say,
this was the problem.
This was the problem. This is what happened. And for me, it taught me an important lesson that there's things that you can't do alone. Even when you make a mistake, there's someone you can talk to say, what to help me out? What do I need to do? And all that. And for me, people have different styles. But my style, even my leadership style, I don't think I know everything. So I always call my team. Whenever I'm in a fix, I say, guys, this is what's happening. What can we do? And then we start bouncing ideas off each other and all that. Because God has put people in your life for a reason. So I utilize my human capital well. That has been one of my strongest assets, as a leader in my team, because I always get feedback from my people. What do we do? How do you think we should put it? Should we do it like this? Should we do it like this? Should we do it like this? And then, of course, I think about it. It doesn't mean that everything they say I implement, but, I try to think and then pick out, okay, from all this, let's try and remove the chaff and then take out the wheat and which one has the juice that we can actually use. So even when you make a mistake, what a lot of people do, they try to internalize it and they beat themselves up.
Yeah, that blame game.
Wow, Ore, how can you? Like, yes, how can you? But everybody makes mistakes. Everybody. So what I always do, I always have people I talk to, and that's what has helped me personally. Either my husband or either a colleague. Of course, there are some people. It doesn't mean that you should go around doing telling everybody. There are people that you can't talk to, but most importantly, it's usually a mentor, somebody you expect, like, oh, I'm in this fix and all that, I made this mistake. How do I get out of it and all? Because we don't have all the answers by ourselves. So people are always there to help us.
So what here you say it's okay to make mistakes doesn't deviate your past.
Oh,
it just strengthens,
exactly,
gives you wisdom to know how to navigate.
Yeah.
And later on.
Yeah. You know what I realized is that everybody makes mistakes, but there are just some mistakes that are more, let's say, pronounced than the others. Yeah. What the mistake people make when they make mistakes is that they think, oh, they're the only ones. Oh, that they're not so good. They're not as good as the next person. The next person is not making mistake. Why am I making this kind of mistake? But everybody is making mistakes. Everybody. So don't internalize it. Of course, there's another extreme. See, when you are always making mistakes, then there's a problem and you need to fix something. But the occasional error that you make and all that, don't beat up yourself about it. Again, what a lot of people do is, you feel so bad, and then you don't even take the learnings you're supposed to take from that mistake. So when you make a mistake, you should go back, say, what did I do wrong? What am I supposed to do better next time? You learn and then you move on. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Final words for someone that feel like they've made a mistake regarding their purpose. What should they do now?
So, like I said at the beginning, purpose is a movement. Even if you have moved backwards, you can always find yourself. In fact, I tell myself that I'm probably going to change my career path when I get to 40. Like, this is not all there is to me. I'm discovering new things, and every single day, even if you're 40, you're 50, you're 60, yeah, there's never ever too late to change your purpose. I like this woman that sells moi. She calls herself moi, and yes,
Mrs. Meg.
Yes, so she I think she started her business at 40. She's always my inspiration. I tell myself, at 40, I will change my career path. So this is not all there is to me. Even if it seems like you have achieved all that, there's so much more. And even if you have not achieved, you've not gotten to where you can always start. They say the best time to start is yesterday, and then the next best time is now. So now you can always start, and don't beat yourself up about it. Just move on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been lovely speaking. I don't want to stop, but the people at the back are just giving me eyes and all those things. It's trying to get me to stop. It's been amazing. I hope you got as much value as I have. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, my name is Ibuko. See you next time on Spotlight.